Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, we're fortunate today to have with us Brother Sayyid Mohammad Jawad Al-Qazwini, a known speaker around the world. Brother Qazwini has come to Houston, and we're blessed to have him here for the 10 speeches from 1st to 10th of Muharram. And he has very successfully moved our youth to a different plateau in their awareness of the basics of Islam and basics of their own maslak. And we thank him for that. Brother Sayyid Mohammad Jawad Al-Qazwini is known around the world for his message of peace, anti-extremism, unity across and amongst all religions and maslaks. Brother Qazwini's message, the Quran, and the message of Quran is for the alam, for the entire world, and not just for Muslims. Is his unique approach, and we appreciate that, and we'll talk to him during our talk this morning. We have learned over the past 2 years that Brother Qazwini has taught our youth a unique way to say dua, to pray, and to ask for their hajat and their needs from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which in my personal opinion connects them to hope. And we see a new enthusiasm within our youth. With that, I would like to turn to Brother Mohammad Jawad Al-Qazwini. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with us.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. As you heard me say a few things in your introduction, but my goal today is that the entire world will get to know you through your own introduction, and you will introduce yourself today. As you know, that we have known you through your speeches, scholarly speeches and lectures, and people know you as educator, people know you as author, writing papers and delivering them around the country and around the world. But I would like to ask you if you could take our audience worldwide through who is Brother Jawad Mohammad Al-Qazwini, your upbringing, and if you could take us back at least a couple of generations. Please introduce yourself from your grandfather, and if you could add their names as well.
It's very kind of you to have me, and I usually don't really get into introducing myself. I believe that the best way for a person to actually introduce himself and to be known is through what they have to offer to humanity. In fact, there are numerous traditions from Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam that says that he would say to some of his friends and companions, "You shall speak and I shall know you. Once you speak, I shall know you, and do not brag about your ancestors." And Imam Zain al-Abidin was once asked, "Why don't you make it known who you are?" And he says that Allah created heavens for, even an Abyssinian slave that has no family and no fame and no popularity, if you were to obey. And Allah created the hellfire for the most rich and famous of Quraysh if they were to disobey. But since you asked,
please, let me clarify just for 30 seconds. We agree with you because fortunately, alhamdulillah, we both come, and our shajra or family tree connects all the way back to Zaid Sharida, and I see that you're from the same family tree. However, there are a lot of kids who have moved in such a way that they would like to follow you in your footsteps, and they're anxious to know what made Brother Jawad Al-Qazwini who he is today? What was the upbringing? And we know that your family is a very known family, so please introduce us.
Let me begin with a simple introduction on the lineage of the Prophet. The Prophet was marked by many of the pagan Arabs that he had two sons and they all passed away, both of them, and there was a tragedy upon the heart of the Prophet Mohammad. However, soon Allah gave him a big promise. Soon Allah gave him a lot of hope, and He says, "Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar, inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar." Oh Ya Rasulullah, we have blessed you with Kawthar, and praise your Lord, thank your Lord. Then Allah says, for those who mock you and say that you will not have a progeny and a family and a lineage, they will know they will not have a family and a progeny and a lineage, but you will have an abundance of family and lineage. And I believe amongst one of the miracles of the Prophet is that through his daughter Fatima, today there are millions of people around the world that are through lineage attributed to the Prophet. And they are not just necessarily, even though they are from the lineage and they have to go through Ahlul Bayt, so we find some of them in different madahib. Some of them are Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanafi, Hanbali, and Ja'fari, and they may be in different madahib, but yet they are in lineage and family tree referring back to the Prophet. I am through the lineage of the Prophet, alhamdulillah. This is a great honor and a privilege to
Absolutely.
Have the blood of the Prophet and to be attributed to him through not just religion, not just through worship, but through family as well. It's an absolute honor and it's a responsibility at the same time. So it's my family tree goes to Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, and Imam Musa ibn Ja'far is the 8th Imam of the Ahlul Bayt school of thought. He's buried in Al-Qazwini, and one of the very near suburbs of the capital of Iraq, Baghdad. And since Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, up until now, there has been scholars in that lineage. We have not actually had one gap where there has not been scholars, and that gap, there was a gap between the scholarly work, and so there, for hundreds of thousands of years, there has been that, connection of scholarly work.
Continually has been there.
It's been there. Many of the people, especially the followers of Ahlul Bayt, are familiar with my grandfather, Ayatollah Al-Qazwini, who happens to be the leading Ayatollah in the holy city of Karbala. He leads the prayers, the congressional prayers inside the mausoleum of Imam Hussein. And he has given to the Muslim world, he has given so much to the Muslim world. He was the founding father of many Islamic institutions in America, many. Some in Michigan, some in California, Fresno, Florida, San Diego, LA, Orange County, Michigan, many other places. He was directly involved, and he was the founding father for many other institutions in the western part of the world. He also founded a seminary in Kuwait City, in the country of Kuwait. Amongst his work was also scholarly work and devotional work to Allah in the Islamic Republic of Iran. However, now since the fall of the government in Baghdad, and the Ba'athist regime, he chose to go back, and his scholarly work is publicly known and broadcasted on 6 or 7 different satellite channels every day from the Mausoleum of Imam Hussein, where he does tafsir al-Quran, and he has orphanage, schools, madrasas, and many things happening in Iraq. My father is the leading Imam now at the Fresno Islamic Cultural Institute, and he's the head and the administrator for the Development and Relief Foundation, and he also teaches at Fresno State College. I grew up in that family.
Could you share your father's name with me?
My father said Al-Qazwini, and I was blessed. We were always a family that was always together. The uncles and the grandfather and everyone, the cousins. We all grew up in one home under one umbrella. As I was growing up, we would pray congregational prayers every day at home. The morning prayer before school, Dhuhr and Asr prayer, Maghrib Isha prayer. This would all be done at home, and we would recite the Quran at home. We were taught by our parents and family to give importance to prayer, give importance to values that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has wanted and desired from us. So growing up in such a family and seeing such role models, and through the blessings of Almighty God, I was able to find myself responsible for continuing to serve Allah and to serve the path that I believe gets people to happiness, to comfort in this life and in the next life.
Alhamdulillah, before we move on, Imam Al-Qazwini from Dearborn Mosque,
Yes.
my family has been blessed to have listened to him and basically be with him at certain occasions, and he visited Houston here as well. Relationship to him?
He is my uncle. My father is the eldest, Sayyid Ali, and then Sayyid Mustafa, who's in Orange County, and then Sayyid Mohammad, who has recently moved to Karbala. He was actually the Imam of 2 centers in San Diego, and after Sayyid Mohammad, Sayyid Hassan, who you had a reference to. He is the Imam at the largest center in America.
Exactly.
Entitled the Islamic Center of America. It is the eldest as well. It's been around for 60-some years, and it's in the heart of Dearborn, Michigan. A very beautiful center.
Absolutely right.
It's a state of art, and he is there. Very, very active center, very active community, and definitely a community to look up to.
Imam Al-Qazwini has done, no doubt, his work is enormous, and his deeds, what he has done, he has moved the community there since his arrival. And I distribute one of his speeches that he gave after 9/11 at a Catholic church. It's about 45-minute speech, and I happened to be there, and it was amazing to hear him to address, basically a Catholic church, over 1,000 people, right after such an incident, and he got standing ovation after his speech.
Yes.
So it's a true blessing.
Yeah.
Being brought up in such a company of mujtahids and alims and scholars, who influenced you the most?
Definitely, without doubt, I think every one of my family members, including my father and my uncles and my cousins, have been influenced by the patriarch of the family, my grandfather.
I see.
May Allah give him health and a long life. He's very dedicated, very humble. He's full of energy. He's in his 80s now, but he's full of energy and full of hope, always. To put the community a better situation all around the world. And, alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed him with, 16 grandsons that are actually speaking this Muharram all around the world. Parts of the Middle East, parts of the Europe, parts of Canada, parts of the States, Australia, and 9 children that are devoted to the cause of Imam Hussein. And so it's because of his honesty with Allah and his dedication to Allah that we found this work to be the best life to lead and to the best road to take.
Please tell us a little bit about your birthplace, your immediate family, how many brothers, sisters, and where they're at, and what do they all do?
We're 4. I am the eldest, and my brother Imam, who's just joined us in Qom for Islamic studies, and my sister who's studying at the university in Fresno, and my youngest brother who's in junior high.
I see, in Fresno as well?
Yeah, Fresno as well.
And your birthplace?
My birthplace was in Iran.
I see.
Yeah, I was born in Tehran.
How old were you when you first came?
When I came to the States, I was about 12, 13 years old.
13 years old. MashaAllah. And so you went to some initial...
Basically, I did, yes, I did, I got right into school, 6th and 7th grade onwards to high school, and then we were blessed to be in the Islamic school, actually, that my grandfather had founded in LA. It's a very big school, with 300-400 students, and was also an accredited school. I did my junior high school there, graduated from that school. I moved on to a junior college and continued my studies.
How did you keep yourself aligned with your home values or traditional values while going through the Western schooling system? It's a question I'm asking for my family, for the entire world.
Yeah.
Because we are all faced with the same challenges.
Believe me, it's not easy. It's not easy, and I say this, I said throughout my speeches here in Houston, that a lot of people think, once youngsters, the youth here, go through a little bit of mistakes and trouble, then their kids are bad, their children are bad. And the reality of it is that we're human beings, and the environment out there, basically, lack of morality is considered very normal. Lack of responsibility is considered very normal today. The usage of alcohol is the number one threat to youngsters, because alcohol, you just go and buy beer, you buy all sorts of alcoholic beverages, and all you need is an ID. They'll sell it to anybody, and they've put an age limit of 21, but we all know that not everyone that drinks in America is 21 years old. In fact, in some American families, and I say this because I grew up with my American friends in the American society, their parents let them drink from the age 17, 18, they can drink at home. They've got beer in the fridge and, wine and all sorts of alcoholic beverages. And then when a person is intoxicated, Brother Adeel, we all know what happens. They cannot think. And they resort to their animalistic,
Very true.
A human being is an animal, but with a brain, with intellect. And if you take that brain away from the human being, that human being is just an animal. And
so true.
Is this what God wants from us, to be animals? So I think the number one threat is a threat of alcohol, basically. At high schools, high school parties, high school dances, And then the greater threat that's actually fought, in America, people look at it as, something with a negative eye sometimes, is drugs. However, they're both intoxicants to us as Muslims and to any human being. Intoxicant is an intoxicant. If you're losing your mind, let it be a smoke, let it be a drink, let it be something else.
Lose your judgment.
And, how many people a year in America die because of drug driving? Because driving under the influence. Or being hit by somebody that's under influence. How many children lose their parents because of... So, the numbers, the greatest threat after alcohol is drugs. All sorts of drugs. Especially marijuana, that's so popular in junior high, beginning from, I believe, 6th or 7th grade, children resort to usage of marijuana. Marijuana is an intoxicant drug, and it destroys people forever, because people get addicted to this drug, and they take this drug lightly. It makes them lazy. It makes them, excuse my language, it makes them dumb. You don't want, Allah does not want a human being to be dumb. Allah wants human beings to always strive towards perfection. And then you have other issues such as the influence of the TV. For example, MTV, music TV, television, but it's not just music. It's music and it's lifestyle. For example, there's a program on MTV. It's called MTV Cribs.
Absolutely.
A lot of youngsters watch it. And what's MTV Cribs? It shows you big mansions of people that have probably made their money not in ways that me and you will end up making our money. Football players. How many people end up being football players? Basketball players. How many people end up being professional basketball players?
Not even fraction of a percent.
And rappers. So a lot of youth actually think, I'm going to become a professional basketball player and not study. I'm going to be a professional football player and not study. I'm going to end up being a rapper and not study. That's not the case, So all you'll be is just not studying. The chances of, an average person being chosen on, professional teams and becoming successful or becoming a rapper is very, very, very minimal. But you don't want to take such risks. So that lifestyle, of spending so much money on cars, on clothes, on partying, without responsibility, all that has a big, major influence on the youth, and there has to be something that will protect them, that will guide them, that will. It's not just the home. The Islamic Center plays a big role. The family plays a big role. And I think the youngsters themselves. At the end of the day, do you want to be somebody of character at the age of 20 or 40? You want to put that 20 years gap where, I'm still young, still have a long way to go? Or do we, as human beings, and as the followers of Ahlul Bayt, especially in the nights of Muharram, see Ali al-Akbar, see Abbas, Imam Hussein, and say, well, they were at a very young age compared to what they have given to humanity.
Absolutely.
If we're true followers to them, then we'll take the safest.
Just not to further elaborate, but just a comment and perhaps a quick question. We know, and through your speeches, we know that even the families and the immediate families of our, some of the prophets and imams and all that, kids. Not all kids followed in their footsteps.
Yes.
So you're blessed with a family. True, I accept that. The word accepts it and their work and Islamic centers. But you as a child, personally, I'm sure that Brother Jawad Al-Qazwini, if I ask you that you restrained yourself while going through the same culture, same temptations as your peers were going through.
Yes.
If you want to give our youngsters maybe 2 tips, what not to do
Absolutely.
Instead of what to do.
Absolutely.
Please.
I actually shared some of those tips in my lectures and in the Q&A. sessions. But I think the biggest thing, to sum it up, maybe to a lot of people this seems to be unimportant, but I think this says it all. Don't be places where you jeopardize yourself and decide that, no, I can handle this. A lot of us say, well, I can be at a party and I won't drink, I won't use drugs, I won't do whatever they do. I'll just be hanging out with friends. And how long is that going to last? You know, today, if we're in a room and there's poisonous gas, we'll all be poisoned. In fact, one day I heard one of the scholars say something and it really hit me. And he said, you know, have you seen when you sit next to somebody and they smoke a cigarette? When you go home, your wife, your parents, your children, did you smoke? And you said, no, I didn't smoke. Well, you smell like cigarettes.
Exactly.
If one cigarette can have that much influence on us from one cigarette, you know, don't think you're going to be in a place where there's music and, you know, what type of music? Degrading music to the person listening, the person, you know, degrading in every way, drinking, alcohol, partying, dancing, that's going to affect human soul. So don't be in places where, you know, later on you will be pulled in. And from the beginning, set principles for yourself. I will not be in such places. And I think what plays a big role is just when we wake up in the morning, and this is not just for the youngsters, this is for everyone listening. When we wake up in the morning, take out 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just think about your day. What is your day like? Are you going to school? Are you going to work? And then promise yourself, one by one, promise your hands, your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your feet, that you will not sin with them. One by one. I mean, you know, you tell your hand, please do not sin. A lot of people think that, you know, how am I speaking to my hand? But this plays a big role. When you actually say it, when you feel it, it will play a big role. And, you know, basically making a promise to yourself. Today is going to be a good day. Today I'm going to be strong. Today there's going to be a lot of good things happening in the 24 hours, you know. I'm not going to be weak. And at the end of the day, right before we sleep, take out 5 minutes and say, how successful was I in fulfilling my promise to myself? I think with those advices, we'll go a long way.
I don't know, that is our standing, and it is self-evaluation and basically asking yourself, looking in the mirror and asking a question to yourself. That's the most honest conversation that one can have ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because there's no one else there but you and your God.
Absolutely.
And as long as you believe that God is everywhere and God is watching,
absolutely,
I think that sense has to be there.
And Brother Adeel, I think you remember when I said an average human being lives about 25,550 days, and a lot of us don't even sit down and think about them. And I think Allah has given us that time in the day, the 5 daily prayers, to just think and reflect on the rest of the 24 hours. You know, 1 hour to plan and think about the rest of the 23 hours. The day of Friday is a day of reflection. Month of Ramadan, month of Muharram. Those are seasons where we sit down and plan about a year, about a week, about a month. Evaluate ourselves, you know. And like you said, who better than me evaluating my own self?
Exactly. That's very honest. Ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting here with Brother Jawad Al-Qazwini, our guest speaker in Houston for the last 10 days, and getting to know him at a personal level for the last few minutes. I would like to end this first segment by one of my last questions and see how much he would like to elaborate on it. He is doing his master's level studies when it comes to, if you want to compare it to the Western world, at Qom, his Dars Kharij, and I would like to ask Brother Al-Qazwini as to who your teacher is and
Absolutely.
where you're at and how do you spend your days and what happens in Dars Kharij, if you could educate the young generation.
Hopefully one day you can bring this camera over to Qom and I'll take you all to all my classes, and
Inshallah.
you get to see the student and the schools and the reaction. I think the whole world actually wants to know how Shia scholars are made.
Exactly.
Are they made at Harvard and Yale and Princeton, or are they, it's different. It's a lot more humble, Sit on the floor most of the time. Give a lot of respect to your professor. Amongst my professors that I was blessed to have was and still is Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Rouhani, the son to the late Ayatollah Sayyid Mohammad Rouhani, one of the Maraja of the grand Maraja of our time, one of the students of Ayatollah Khoi, and he was spent most of his life in Najaf and several years in Qom, and he was a marja for the Shia world. And so one of my professors is Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Rouhani. I still have, he's actually my personal tutor. I still study with him every day. One of my other professors, Ayatollah Sheikh Shakir Ansari, and Ayatollah Sheikh Adeel Al-Amiri, who I have mostly studied aqa'id, which is belief, our belief in God, the philosophy of belief, and just go down that list, about infallibility, about imama, about and all from reason and philosophy. And we've examined the hadiths, So I have done sciences such as Rajal, which refers to chain of narrators, and others, studies with him. This was at the master's level, like you said. At the bachelor's level, I actually studied many of the parts of the bachelor's level in America under my grandfather.
I see.
And when I arrived to Qom, I was at the end of that stage, the beginning of the stage that is equivalent to masters, and I had the privilege of being under such teachers, and of course I had other classes that I would attend on public classes, but those tutors were the main force, were the main driving force. And I have recently been attending, after finishing that part, I've been attending the class of Ayatollah Sheikh Muhsin Wahid Khurasani, who happens to be the eldest son of the grand Ayatollah Sheikh Wahid Khurasani, who is the main driving force of the Hawza today in Iran. His class is attended by over 2,000 students at that stage, master's, PhD, and even above postdoctorate. So I'm attending at that stage at the moment. What happens now? What happens at that moment in that class? Kharaj I attend for Ayatollah Sheikh Muhsin Wahid Khurasani and Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Milani. One is usul, one is fiqh. What happens in this class? Basically, you no longer follow a book. You follow the theories. You bring about the theories. The professor gives many opinions, up to 10 opinions, and then chooses one. He says, this is my opinion. He may agree with somebody, or he may disagree and have his own unique opinion. And our job as students is to rebuttal, to bring our proof and rebuttal and question those opinions. So if you were to bring 8 opinions about a theory, every opinion he would defend and we would rebuttal.
So in Western world, can you say that these are the case studies and
absolutely yes,
but back and forth between professor and students?
Basically, it's much different than what happens in at the university. As soon as the professor finishes a sentence and says, "This is theory number one," or "This is the reasoning behind theory number one," then you will find the class has, you would have people at the postdoctorate, PhD, masters, and of course the priority is given to those who have been attending for a long time and are at high level, and they would immediately rebuttal. The professor has to listen, and he would have to have a response, and that may just continue on, between the professor and the student. And once the professor thinks that, okay, this person we're done with, moves on to the next person, and here's another one. And basically, whoever is at the level of being able to, and not anybody speaks, people that do have a powerful opinion, their opinions. So it's actually very beautiful. It's also humbling. You not only study, but by the approach of the scholar, by the respect, how he listens, how he respects his students, and how we're meant to respect him and follow him. It's a truly beautiful experience.
What would be the duration of such interaction with your professor? How long this takes?
Every class takes about an hour.
I see.
Yes.
For how long?
Well, it depends on how many classes you have.
I see.
So every class takes about an hour, and if you're attending fiqh, jurisprudence, they start from the beginning of jurisprudence. Talking about ijtihad, and then tahara, and then salah, and then sawm, fasting, and hajj, and zakat, and khums, and all that could take up to 10 years.
I see.
And usul could take up to 10 years as well. Usul is a science that teaches you how to make jurisprudence laws. It has a lot of philosophy and logic, and so those two classes are, after you graduate from that class, you are meant to carry on your own class.
I see.
Develop your own theories and have your own students rebuttal you. That's
so
how.
At what level or effort, how long one qualifies as mujtahid?
After finishing off that
Usul and fiqh.
fiqh and usul. And some you don't have to, they don't necessarily finish to get mujtahid. Mujtahid is a person that is able to extract laws,
I see.
extract a fatwa. So sometimes some people need the whole 10 years to be able to get to that level, to extract fatwas. Some can do it in 3 years, some 4 years, in the hawza.
But it's up to the teacher to decide who
Yes,
is qualified.
well, the teacher will evaluate,
Exactly.
but it's not up to the teacher. The teacher can just evaluate if you're at that level or not. It's up to the student
I see.
to strive and put himself in that, in that position. And there's, that if he finds himself in that case, then he'll go to the professor. And the professor will test him in a couple of ways, and it's not easy. It takes a process.
Where do you see yourself in this postgraduate work that you're doing right now?
Brother Adeel, here in America, there's so much potential for Islam. There's so much need for Islam. There's so much thirst for Islam.
I agree.
Beginning from our own Muslim youth. And then moving on to people that have no idea what Islam is all about. And they suffer from lack of understanding of what Islam's true colors are. And, you're needed on many levels. Social, political, religious, teaching at universities, speaking at churches, speaking at high schools, speaking at different radio stations, speaking at different TV programs, appearing on the newspaper, working with the youth, delivering lectures, writing books, writing articles. it's basically an active imam in America has to do the job of 10 people. Because there's so much need, so much potential. And I remember in one of my lectures I said, and you were there, and you smiled, I saw it.
Because I agreed with your approach. And
I said, we have about 500 imams, and many of them don't speak English in America. Many of them happen to be physically in America, but mentally they're back in the Middle East. And many of them are not trained to be imams. We're left with very small numbers. And those small numbers need to, like I said, work extra hours. So that calls me to come back and give toward them. But again, something else tells me to stand, my heart is now tells me to stay and continue studies, because we are in need of scholars, like real scholars at that higher level of mujtahids, to come back to America.
Through this transmission and through this brief talk and conversation that we're having, and I know when I say this that I represent at least Houston youth and my friends and families here, which were influenced by your lectures, and you were able to bring a huge community under one roof for the first time. We have seen under one roof people who have never sat under one roof before your lectures. So whoever your postgraduate teachers are, I humbly tell them that this should be taken as an extra credit towards your postgraduate studies, because
thank you.
Because you are doing such a work which should be part of it. And I know it is part of your curriculum that you're imparting your wisdom and knowledge that you are acquiring from the Maraja.
Yes.
And so this concludes our first part about you, and we'll definitely start in the next 2 minutes with the global vision of Brother Imam Jawad Al-Qazwini. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Brother Sayyid Jawad Al-Qazwini, our guest speaker for the first 10 nights of Muharram in Houston, addressing to Houston youth. And this is how this program started. However, soon we found out that by the eloquent speeches and lectures given by Brother Jawad Al-Qazwini here in Houston, that our center was filled with not only youth, but their parents, their uncles, their aunts, and we were running out of space at center. We have seen for the first time people coming from all centers. Houston has 7 centers, and I have personally witnessed their families who, for the reason of distances, for the other reasons, would not or could not visit Imam Bargah Al-Qadir, were there with their families and with their kids. We have seen a turnout at the Jalus, Ashra Jalus, of over 2,000 people. And people came there to listen to the message of Brother Sayyid Muhammad Jawad Al-Qazwini and participated. And there was a pin drop silence on the street when he addressed the gathering at the Jalus. We're going to start our part 2. And one of the reasons that I spoke with Sayyid, that this limited audience, it's not justice to the global audience worldwide. They all need to get your message that you're delivering to the youth here. Sayyid, we come back to you. And in part 2, as part 1, we spoke about your personal upbringing, and thank you for that enlightening story of your personal story. But I would like to ask you that in general, and for Shian Ali, alayhi salam, for the youth and the friends of Imam Ali, but in general for the Muslim Ummah, what's your vision?
Well, Brother Adeel, I truly believe that you know, we as an ummah all throughout the world need to really sit down and focus and just reflect and think. You see, the month of Ramadan comes and it goes in the Muslim countries, while TV is full of soap operas and TV shows and music, while the restaurants have specials on food, and sometimes even belly dancers, and staying up all night with the music, live audience. The month of Muharram comes and goes, and we always hear about Imam Hussein saying, إِنِّي لَمْ أَخْرُجْ أَشْرًا وَلَا بَطْرًا وَلَا مُفْسِدًا بَلْ خَرَجْتُ لِإِصْلَاحِ أُمَّةِ جَدِّ رسول الله لكي آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر وأسير على سيرة أبي جدي وأبي. I did not leave for popularity and fame in vain, but I left and started this movement in order to perfect the ummah of my grandfather Rasulullah, to enjoy the good, forbid the bad, to follow the footsteps of my grandfather and my father. And we hear this. The month of Ramadan is a month that belongs to the ummah. The month of Muharram is a month that belongs to the ummah. And we don't think about it truly. While, you know, we've seen our brothers and sisters, for example, today, suffering in the country of Imam Hussein, Iraq.
Very true.
You know, take a look at the numbers. 1 million widows. 1 million widows in Iraq. 500,000 widows from the age 19 to 28. You know, this is a young age for those women to enjoy life. But instead, you know, she's lost her husband, poverty, no jobs, no education, no security. 5 million orphans. 5 million is a huge number. Baghdad by itself, the capital of Iraq, has nearly 32,000 orphans. 32,000 orphans is a huge number. So basically, we have to take a look at ourselves, our ummah. And I think a lot of our problems and difficulties goes back to one main reason, and that is lack of education. Because lack of education brings lack of dedication, lack of devotion, lack of sincerity, lack of hard work, laziness. All that comes because of lack of education. Because if I'm educated enough and I know what I want, I know where I'm headed, I know what needs to be done to put us on the avenue of success, then I will do it. But the problem is, when there's lack of education, then you become lazy. You don't know what you're doing. When there's no education, you become doubtful, unaware, confused. And I think the ummah is in need of enlightenment. The ummah is in need of true scholarly work, to get to know each other while respecting our differences. You know, today we find that not long ago, the Imam of Masjid al-Haram, he was the Imam appointed by the Saudi king, King Abdullah, to be the new Imam appointed in the house of the Kaaba. And you know, there's more than 1 billion people, 1 billion people that pray towards the Kaaba every single day. And 2 days after he's appointed, he comes on BBC. And, you know, I call upon the viewers to go and look at this on YouTube for themselves. And it got translated into every language. And he was asked by BBC what he thinks of the Shia. And he said that they are kafir. You know, how can we be an ummah, call ourselves an ummah, when the place we face every day and the namaz that we pray, the salah that we perform every day, is led by a person that, you know, calls more than 250 million Muslims kafir. You know, it's unfortunate. We are in a state where we need awareness. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of ignorance.
Since you brought that incident, I mean, it's unfortunate, and it's really there's no excuse for it, and there's no place for monarchy in Islam either.
Absolutely.
And we know that obviously our Maslak doesn't approve of that, and nobody should approve of it. I believe other than 2 or 3 places in the world, monarchy has vanished, and it should vanish.
Yeah.
Whatever else is remains.
Exactly, absolutely.
But just a little definition of Shia and Ali. Who are we? And why somebody else can call us such a thing as kafir?
You know, there's 2 ways to define a Shia. A person comes to Imam al-Baqir, the 5th Imam, and he asks him, who are the Shia? He says, by God, our Shia are known to be prayerful, fast, to pray the night prayers, to pay charity, to perform the pilgrimage, to be righteous, to be kind to their elderly and to their parents, to be kind to their neighbors, to give loans, to give charity, to be steadfast, to be patient, and he continues on giving description and virtues and qualifications for being a Shia. It's not easy just to say, I am a Shia of Ali. Basically, Shia, the word Shia in Arabic means follower. And follower of Ali is not something easy. You know.
Comes with a lot of obligations and responsibility.
It comes with, it's a big name, a lot of responsibility. Ali was not an ordinary person with ordinary qualities, you know. A man that, while he was receiving the wealth of the Muslim Empire, you know, the Muslim Empire had expanded tremendously by the time he was the Khalifa. And they would pile up the gold and pile up the silver in front of him, and he would actually go inside the treasury and he would look at the gold, and he would not even call gold gold. He had a different definition for gold. He would call it the yellow, and he would call the silver the white, because to him gold was something else and silver was something else. He had a different approach towards life. And he would say, Ya dunya ghurri ghayri abi ta'arrafti la hana hinuki qad talaqtuki thalathan la raj'ata fiki. He says, are you seducing me? Are you making yourself beautiful for Ali? I have divorced you 3 times, and I will not go to you. I will not be seduced by you. And I have left the dunya. His life was dedicated to God. He was born in the house of God. He left in the house of God. His kindness to the Christians. You know, at the time, he sees a man with the cross begging. He goes, sits next to him, and he cries. And he says, Ma hada, what is this? They said, well, he's a Christian man. He says, no, I did not ask you who is he. I said, what is this? Why is there poverty? Why is there a Christian person begging? Don't differentiate. You know, every human being deserves to live a life with dignity. And
that's the message of Quran.
That's the message of Quran. You know, Allah says, إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ وَأُنْثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّمَا أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. Male, female, you know, white, black, yellow, whatever color, whatever nationality, whatever race. At the end of the day, piety is what makes. And Imam Ali writes as ambassador Malik al-Ashtar about the minorities, the Christians, the Jews, those who do not agree with him, those who are not still in opposition to Ali. He says, وَأَشْعَرْ قَلْبَكَ الْمَوَدَّةَ وَالرَّأْفَةَ. Make sure your heart feels tender towards them, soft towards them. فَأَنَّهُمْ صَدْفَانِ. For they are 2. Either your brother in faith or your brother in humanity. This was the message of Ali. And, you know, I had one message. If you sum up the whole message that I gave in the 10 nights, I said, year 2010 will be better than 2009, inshallah.
Inshallah.
How? By change. When we will leave some of our bad habits and we adopt new ones. When we strive towards the better. When we sit down and reflect on who Ali was, and we being the Shia of Ali. What does that mean? Who are we? What should we follow? What should we do? Once we understand that and we follow that, then we will have a much better year, a much energetic year, with a lot more to accomplish, a lot more to see, inshallah.
Inshallah. In your comment earlier, as you were mentioning about the expansion of Islamic empire as it's written in the history, and my father, Professor Zaidi, happens to be a professor of Islamic history and has written a few books. But he, I'm trying to get one of his books translated. This is called, Mirror of History, Islam and Ali. The expansion, and I would like to correct myself or ask you, because his belief was that the vision of our Prophet was not aligned with such expansion in the way it was done.
Oh yes.
It was totally against his philosophy and the vision. So if you could have a comment on
basically, Islam is a religion. It's not an empire. And when they took, after the demise of the Prophet, some individuals came and took leadership positions. They had a different vision. Their vision was to expand by the sword, to expand by force. But that was not the vision of the Prophet and the Holy Quran. There's no compulsion in religion. La ikraha fi din. The reason is Islam has to reside within the hearts. So by force, if you make people Muslim, there's no good in that. But when they love Islam, accept Islam, that's what the message of Islam is all about. So the expansion happened while Ali was not the Khalifa, and the Prophet had passed on. But when he became a Khalifa, he was responsible for the Muslim Ummah. So again, a lot of people say Mohammad spread Islam. Mohammad was not there and then when that was happening, but there were moments where the Islamic empire was expanding by force, unfortunately, and that has not been given us a good name. A lot of people are confused about the true colors of Islam. And I'm glad you brought it up for those viewers who did not know and were not aware.
No, I'm very happy. So yeah, as I was coming this morning, my daughter stopped me and said, give my salams to Maulana and ask him what kind of books she should be reading, what kind of books the Houston youth should be reading, what should they do to prepare for your arrival next time here so they can ask more appropriate questions, or they can better themselves in knowledge between now and next time they see you.
The Quran, I believe that this is where we have to start. Every knowledge is in the Quran. We just have to be able to find that knowledge, look for that knowledge, and put that knowledge in. And the Prophet ﷺ says, I've left amongst you two weighty things. Kitab Allah wa Atrat, the book of Allah and the progeny. And translation is beautiful, but then tafsir. Where was this verse revealed? Why was it revealed? The history behind it. And that's why some people misunderstand verses, because they don't know what is it speaking about. What circumstance? What is the message? When you understand all of that, put it together with a better understanding of the Holy Quran, we can achieve much higher levels of knowledge about Islam, much higher levels of knowledge about our lives in general.
I agree, and I believe, as in our conversation, as you were mentioning earlier, that if our youth, our elders, can go a little bit in depth and try to find out what were the circumstances, environment when the ayah was revealed, and get reference to the context by reading tafsir, they can get perhaps a much clearer picture
Absolutely.
of the message.
Absolutely.
Instead of just reading message in total isolation.
Absolutely.
Without knowing what was happening at the time the Messiah was revealed.
Yes.
You have shared with us, Brother Al-Qazwini, your beautiful vision for the upcoming youth and the future of our youth. My question to you is, how do you see strategically implementing your vision, and how community can help? What can we do, and what's your mission? How you would like to strategically implement it, your vision, and impart it worldwide, and because the world has become we're a global village.
Yes.
Through internet, within seconds you can access at the other end.
Of course.
So your message will be delivered, inshallah.
Inshallah.
It'll be there, but through this message, what exactly can the worldwide supporters of Ali, supporters of your message, can do for you?
Well, I think we all have a responsibility towards our faith. We all have a responsibility towards God. And to sum it up, Allah has given us, our bodies, our hands, our legs, our eyes, our intellect, our reason, our hearts. He wants us to glorify Him with them. And we don't just glorify God by praying, praying 5 times a day, going to Hajj. We glorify God by using them in the best of ways, by putting them into work that He will be pleased with. And amongst the ways of glorifying God is to help the cause of God, to work towards the cause of God, and to empower the cause of God. So we all have our responsibilities. I believe that, especially here in America, we need to spread awareness amongst our communities, and I believe that we need to spread an awareness that we are here in this country, and Islam says لا أقسم بهذا البلد. The Quran says لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا. Allah swears by the land, and He says, you, wherever you are on that land, this is your legitimate place to be, your country, your place of comfort. And I remember reading a poem by Allama Iqbal Lahori that says أضحى الإسلام لنا دينا وجميع الكون لنا وطن. He says, when Islam is my faith, then the entire world becomes my home. The entire world becomes my country of residence. And that's it, We are in this country. Allah wants us, the land belongs to Allah. And, we live in this country, we work in this country, we pay tax in this country. And for this country, in recent polls, I informed you that there are recent polls that suggest 70% of Americans, unfortunately, still believe that Islam is a threat to America. What is our responsibility? To just think about Pakistan and India and Iran and Iraq? Or has Allah, He's provided us with our intellect, our wisdom. Do we sit and say, what is our responsibility about this country? And I think we have great responsibilities. And I hope that our ummah understands this and starts working towards it. And I think, there's a lot of potential. So one way to start the movement is by people to really have a shift in paradigms, the way they think, the way they approach things, so that we can move on the same level. We're Americans, we live in America, we pay American tax, and at the end of the day, we should be able to raise awareness in America, enhance the reputation of Islam in America, and gift Islam to the American public. Islam is something beautiful. Osama bin Laden today, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, terrorists in Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, elsewhere, those people are in the media. But there are others, they're a very small fraction in all those places around the world, very small fraction. But the majority of the Muslims do not agree with that. And what are the true colors of Islam? They're not.
If I could pick up from one of your lectures where you emphasized, rightly so, the significance of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that Islam is a religion of mercy.
Absolutely.
And God's most favorite attribute is Rahman and Rahim. And that comes right from your lecture.
Yes.
And being so, there are several prophets who have delivered their messages. And before I get to that, I just would like to add to one of your comments that the fraction of these people who are basically imparting hatred and damaging the image of such a beautiful religion, they are in fraction, but they get a lot of publicity. So I believe your message is very clear in Jalous yesterday, that it's not just on Ashura.
Yes.
We need to go out there, and every one of us have to be ambassadors of Islam and good deeds and spread. And if we take even one neighbor and educate them, and take 5 minutes to say who we are and what's our mission and what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. There's 10 million
Exactly.
Muslims in America.
So I loved that message when you gave it yesterday, that I think we should all go
Absolutely.
and become ambassadors of goodwill.
Absolutely.
But coming back to my question here, and that obviously from Abraham to Moses to Jesus to our prophet, we have certain, as we call ulul azm paygambars and messengers of God, and their work is significant in their own times, what they delivered, and they changed, as you said, paradigm shift. They changed paradigms within their times, and they did work of God. And within Islam, if you could comment on their work and then bring it to our prophet, please.
You know, basically Islam is a continuation of those faiths. Continuation, the work of Adam, all the way to the prophet Noah. Noah's mentioned in the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Holy Quran. Moses, Jesus, peace be upon him, and his mother Mary are both mentioned in the Quran numerous ways, numerous chapters. In fact, the whole chapter is dedicated to Mary and her son. The Prophet Muhammad came to finalize this message, to perfect this message. And as Muslims, our belief is oneness of God and prophethood. Believing in prophethood does not just mean to believe in the Prophet Muhammad, but to believe in Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, and the rest of the prophets. So,
that's a true Muslim's definition.
All Muslims agree on this. Now, how much do we know about other faiths and our other prophets is because of our shortcomings and lack of knowledge. I said, we have a responsibility to know. When you tell a lot of our Christian friends, we have a whole chapter dedicated to Mary in the Bible, they get surprised.
Exactly.
In the Quran, they get surprised. And when they read it, they say, "Wow, those are more beautiful than the words of the Bible about Mary." So we have a responsibility to let people know our stand towards other faiths and our stand towards other prophets.
But I guess we both agree, and I'm sure that the Quran and our prophet treated everyone with respect, honor, dignity, and the Quran does the same.
Absolutely.
And Allah's message is the same in the Quran.
Absolutely.
And I believe we're obligated to do the same towards everyone.
Of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're reaching to our last question. It's kind of a long question, but I'm sure we'll get a beautiful short answer. How you would like to be remembered in the history. And before I get to that, my mother used to give, whenever we said salam, she would say, Jio Hazaron Saal Pushro, means that may
You'll be remembered for
thousands of years, and may you lead a happy life.
Yes.
And so that is coming from my heart, from our family, and from all of us, that may your work and your lectures stay within us for thousands and thousands of years. Would you like to be remembered as educator, speaker, author, reformer, or the very last one that I have written here is someone who transformed a community to meet challenges of the ever-changing world?
You know, it's tough to be the same and remain the same in a rapidly changing world. And the same, I mean a true believer, true to ourselves, true to God. That's it. You know, as long as I know I'm truthful to myself and truthful to my Lord and Creator, then this is what brings about the most beautiful feeling of satisfaction in a person's heart. I not only wish and pray to be able to touch one community's heart, but I'd like to serve not just Muslims, all human beings that are willing to listen. Allah says one of the most beautiful attributes about human beings is for them to listen. الَّذِينَ يَسْمَعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. So those who are willing to listen, I would love to be, the one that tries to serve them and send them, bring them the message of Islam, the true message of peace and love and salvation. So my aim is an outreach towards other faiths. My aim is an outreach towards other sects within Islam. My aim is to see the Muslim Ummah united. My aim is, inshallah, once I do return back after my studies of Qom, not to remain in one city or one state, but first and foremost to try and tour the states. And inshallah, in the year 2012, with some of the brothers, with the support of some of the brothers, we are working on me touring the entire states.
Inshallah.
And then touring Canada. And I think that will build a platform of unity where people know your message, know who you are, connect with you on personal levels, and then you can be in Houston, or you can be in LA, or you can be in New York. But today, like you said, it's a global village.
Exactly.
People can tune in through outlets of media and satellite, and we can all be sitting in one room, but thousands of miles away. So I'd like to be remembered as the person who tried to give at least something, even if it's minor, even if it's small, something to every human being that is willing to listen on this earth.
Beautiful. Inshallah.
Inshallah. With
May
your
God
prayer
bless you
support.
And support you in achieving your goals. And lastly, I would like to thank a gentleman who is in charge of visual memories here in Houston, Brother Mehdi, who has come on this Monday morning after Ashura and has been with you for the last 11 days to come and record this interview. May Allah and may our Prophet and Al-Qazwini bless him and his family for contributing his time and doing such a great deed with you this morning.
Thank you.
So thank you, Brother Mehdi. Thank you. Sayyid, this has been a pleasure.
It's my honor.
And an honor for me and my family to have done this.
Hopefully we'll be soon.
Inshallah. I wish you can be here with us on a Sunday.
Inshallah.
We're going to have a unified message which is in line with your vision.